Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Masterclass 5, Startup Ready, Elevator Pitch together with Practice Pitch session. So I'm really happy that all of you are here, and even through the our engineering community and also with some universities as well as some other professionals who are interested in startups and entrepreneurial activities. So I welcome all of you to this morning, and it's very pleasure to share our upcoming opportunities that we are initiating a national level startup challenge. So all of you, even you are undergraduate, even you are other professional and engineering practitioner, you can come up with your startup idea and pitch your idea, and also you can get some funding to continue with your business idea, startup idea to a prototype level as well as a minimal viable products and establish a startup or a entrepreneurial venture. So that's our plan for the entire year. We are providing you this masterclass series to uplift your knowledge as well as your uh, skills in entrepreneurial mindsets, as well as making something that you can create uh, economic empowerment for our country. So I'm really pleasure to introduce our uh, facilitator today. She's Senela Jayasuriya, global CEO and leadership strategist, and she's also the CEO of the Women Empowered Global, and she has done many of the programs to uplift women as well as youth and professionals to get into this leadership as well as entrepreneurial activities. And also, uh, she will guide you today how to pitch to your investor and get your funding and get ready for your startup journey. So I will officially hand over the sessions to Senela. Thank you, Senela, and accepting our invitation and sharing your knowledge and valuable time to engineering community and our startup founders. So good morning to you.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. Very excited.
So you can continue from there onwards. And we have our founders, our engineering professionals, as well as undergraduates and other professionals. So it's over to you, Senela. Good luck.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. Thank you so much for the invitation, Jasmine. I've known Jasmine for a while now, so I'm so happy to be here as always. So, with that, ladies and gentlemen, what I would love to do with you over the time we have today on the Pitch Masterclass would be to make it as interactive as we can. So let me do a little bit more of an introduction to who I am. I'll share my screen. So throughout today's session, I'd love to encourage you to use the chat box, utilize the chat as much as you can. So first question to all of you, can you all see my screen? Yes? Has it popped up? Can everyone see my screen? Yes, okay,
Yes.
wonderful. Thank you. Okay, great. All right, we have the chat box activated. I love it. Okay, so a little bit about me. I come from a family of entrepreneurs, actually. All my family members, I'm the third of four kids. And my sister's an entrepreneur in UK. She runs an award-winning brand called Winter in Venice. And my brother, he's an entrepreneur as well. He's in the apparel industry. It's a very popular brand, actually. And then I'm the next in line, and I'm in the service space, actually. I do a lot of work in talent management, innovation, leadership development, a lot to do with the cultural development. And I'm also involved with the startup ecosystem. I've been doing a lot of work in the capacity of a facilitator, a judge, a mentor for a lot of startup entrepreneurs around the world. So, with that brief introduction, I see something on my chat box. Okay. All right. So, with that, let's dive into today's conversation. So, my whole narrative about entrepreneurship is that I got into entrepreneurship full time in 2018. Before that, I retired from corporate as the country head for a tech company, actually. And I was heading the operations in Sri Lanka, and I was overseeing global marketing for different continents. So that's a little bit of my corporate history. And I've been working, the bulk of my career has been working in multinational life. And I bring a lot of that insight into the business space as well, because I got exposed to a lot of those best practices, what it looks like in different sizes of organizations. So, coming from a very big organization and then starting my own small startup, and then how I scaled into the level I've reached today as a company. It's been such a interesting journey. I've learned a lot, I've seen a lot, and I'm still learning and I'm still observing. So, what I have observed fundamentally is when it comes to startup success, I think you've heard the good stuff about being an entrepreneur. A lot of people want to be an entrepreneur, right? Because there are a lot of rewards in getting into entrepreneurship. At the same time, you're probably familiar with the challenges of being an entrepreneur. It's not easy. So lot of the times when I speak and mentor entrepreneurs, there are certain things that they don't see because they see only one angle of the game in entrepreneurship, or they're focused in just one particular level. But when you cross over to a mentor, when you cross over to an established entrepreneur, you see things, an entrepreneur who's gone through that journey, you tend to see things in a completely different way, right? So today, my hope is to, at particularly the Q&A at the end, after you all do your pitch round to me, and I've given you the mentoring part of it, right at the end, I want to give at least half an hour for Q&A, just Q&A. I want you to ask me whatever you want to ask me as it relates to entrepreneurship, because I think that's going to make your pitch a little bit more practical as well, so that you're not only going into framework and theory today, but I really want to make sure your time with me is going to marinate that learning and really speak to any insecurity you might have, because a lot of you are coming from universities, a lot of you are coming from engineering backgrounds, and you're not sure about, do I get into entrepreneurship? Do I do something on the side? I'm a professional. What's my career path? And some of you are probably already in entrepreneurship. So let's learn from each other in that sense. So here's the challenge. When it comes to entrepreneurship, I'll read out some data. About 1 in 5 startups fail in their first year. Okay. 1 in 5 startups tend to fail. Roughly 90% of startup ventures end in failure. 90% don't see their second year birthday. So this is a real challenge. And that could have easily been me as well. Because when we start, we have all these big dreams, right? So the success rate is something to be mindful. Now, what is the reason a lot of startups come out, but not a lot of them stick around? There are so many reasons to this. What do you think is fundamental reason that a lot of startups don't survive after 2 years? Why is that? What do you observe as the main issue or challenge? Let's hear your thoughts on the chat. Why do you think? How can we justify this data? So many startups fail, 1 in 5. Why? Why don't they survive? I want you to analyze, I want you to think. Let's have some thoughts on the chat box. Let's see, what are your thoughts? Anyone? Well, one of them would definitely be lack of funding. That's the obvious. Funding, yes. Skills, yes, you can see on the chat you've said more competitors. Yes, so there are various reasons. One is definitely funding, and that's an area that a lot of entrepreneurs look for. They look at funding. There is a whole other thing behind that. Yes, Gobishant, you said they didn't validate. Yeah, yes, that's a good point. If you don't validate, if you don't do a little bit of a small test before you go to an investor, you're in trouble, because a lot of the times investors need to know, are you validating the problem? Is this an actual problem? And as an entrepreneur, as a founder, have you actually validated the problem? Is there an actual problem like that in the society, in the community? That's a good reason. Another is cash flow management. Just because you're an entrepreneur, it usually starts with an idea. Just because you're a founder, I must say, entrepreneur is different. Founder and entrepreneur, in my mind, a startup founder is when you're just beginning that idea. Entrepreneur is when you start thinking about hiring, recruitment, you have a small team already, you're thinking about forecasting, budgeting, planning, you're thinking about investor rounds. So entrepreneurship is a little bit more wider than a startup founder, right? So cash flow problems, startups, you can run out of cash. So a lot of startups start, they have a lot of seed money, early capital, and then everything vanishes after the first year because they haven't had the right mentor or the right understanding how to allocate your finances to make it multiply. So the first advice I'd like, or first tip I can share with you and offer you to consider is in entrepreneurship, how we think is, if I put in $1 today, how quickly can I multiply this dollar so that it will increase in value at least 5 times? Does that make sense? So that's how entrepreneurs think. A startup founder will typically perhaps think, okay, I have $1 today. How do I invest this $1 to keep my company running? See, very different mindsets, isn't it? It's also a mindset challenge. Also, another thing is poor timing, like you said. Startups may not have a product or service that the market needs. Because as a founder, I want you to check in with yourself. We are so caught up with the idea, we are so excited to try something because we're passionate about it. That doesn't mean that it's a pain in the society right now. Maybe the society doesn't need it. So the timing could be an issue. It could also be a people problem. I put a triangle symbol for that. It could very well be the fourth symbol on the screen, a people problem. Hey, red alert, right? So internal issues can cause a lot of startups to fail. Sometimes the CEO, the founder, and the co-founder, they started off as best friends, but now they don't see eye to eye on strategy. Or the founder is the creative, and then suddenly the founder realizes they don't have a lot of strengths when it comes to project management and operational or dealing with people. HR, human resources. How many founders read up about human resource management? Not only capital allocation, right? You need people to make you a success. And even in leadership, the more talented your team is, the more talented your outcomes are going to give you. The more better you're going to produce the results. So you need a talented team around you. So recruiting the team, keeping them motivated, making sure you're recruiting people within budget, right? So that's always another constraint as well. Moving on, poor ideation, that light bulb icon I put there is for ideation and market research. So, like one of you said, market validation, right? That's a very important one. Don't rush into ideation and lack market research. You need to investigate. Being a good investigator is going to be a very important skill for you as a startup founder, friends, honestly. And that was one of my mistakes when I first got into the game because I come from corporate. I was a very established corporate professional who suddenly decided to get into entrepreneurship. What was I thinking, right? So I did it out of necessity in 2018 because I had a full time job. And then at the time, my daughter's father had to migrate for foreign studies to higher his education. He was in the medical faculty, medical profession, and to do his all of that. And then out of necessity, I had to give up my corporate career, which was a thriving career. And then I was wondering, questioning myself, what do I want to do? Do I want to get into another corporate job, or what do I want to do with my life? And at that time, I had a child, a daughter, and she was about 4 years old, I think, in 2018. No, she was about 8 years old at the time. And so I made a conscious decision. I'm going to try because I knew at that stage how big business works. I had a lot of exposure into how big companies led very big global brands. I understood the challenges when it comes to people. I understood company politics, and I knew, okay, fine, I have experience with all of that. So it's not going to be that crazy me having my own company. So I ventured into entrepreneurship. But it's very important for you to do your investigation. Another one could be so the next step for a startup is being a scale up, right? So scaling is very important. That's where you look for, you're coming out of the bootstrap. Now you're looking to get more investment. So scalability, staying competitive, how do you remain competitive, and how you manage finances. These three things, right? Key challenges are within the first year, you're going to be looking at how am I going to scale my company? How am I going to scale my products, my sales pipeline, right? How am I going to scale that? How am I going to expand my sales funnel, right? So it's going to be about scaling. You can write this down. The first challenge is going to be predominantly around how am I going to scale? So then the more economies of scale, I can enjoy more dividends for my product. I can have better profits. I can generate more income, more revenue for my business. So it's going to be about scaling. Number two, it's going to be about how do I remain competitive? How do I remain competitive? What I learned to get to where I am today to launch is not sufficient for me to develop and sustain and go to the next level. So it's going to be about staying competitive. Number three, managing finances. Okay, so going to even your pitch deck should go in with that, having done this audit, moving into your pitch deck with that quiet resilience and that quiet confidence that you've done your basics. Okay. Right. Now, there's something very important, a part of pitching. I'm going to be giving you the framework for this masterclass, but before that, a key area, whenever we do all these hot seat, I'm a hot seat judge when it comes to pitch rounds, right? I get invited to be the hot seat judge and then a mentor for startup founders in, locally as well as internationally. So what I've noticed is this thing about communication, right? People hide behind product idea. That's not enough because when you're pitching, a lot of the times investors are very interested, friends, to know who you are. Who is this person, right? What is their upbringing? What is their education? How do they think? What is their attitude? How is their personality when it comes to receiving feedback, especially critical feedback? An investor who's going to give their money to you wants to know that at any given time, they should be able to come and criticize your business plan, give you their feedback, and are you workable? Are you coachable? Are you someone willing to take feedback? So, all of that is something you're projecting in how you communicate. Did you think about that? So communication, being a communicator is part and parcel of you pitching successfully. These two things have to go hand in hand. Okay. So that is a reason why communication is important. And I'd like to very quickly give you my personally three core areas that are very important to come across as a very good investor ready person. They're going to be looking at your attitude. What is your attitude to the entrepreneurship game? Are you somebody who is okay with pressure? Are you mature enough to accept that you can't control market forces? You can only navigate, you can only anticipate. So, what is your attitude to problem solving? What is the energy you bring to the table? That's the kind of stuff that investors are they're going to be looking at. They will question you and check you on that. Another thing is your level of authenticity. Just because it's a good product, just because you have something viable, doesn't mean they'll invest, right? Your pitch deck is only one part of it. The other part of your pitch is you. Did you realize your pitch deck is just one part of your pitch? The other thing is what you're pitching about yourself. So that's where authenticity comes in, my friends. So, authenticity, a lot of investors realize they have a lot of money. Every day they go to a restaurant, they go anywhere, people are going to see them and pitch an idea to them. You're not the first, and you're certainly not the last. I have a lot of I'm aware of because I'm in a lot of those circles. And a lot of the times, a lot of, what we discuss is, when someone comes to us for mentoring or for investment, they just come hungry for the investment, but they haven't sold themselves, who they are, right? Why they're doing what they're doing. So your authenticity, what is unique about you? When was the last time you answered that question? Why you? Why would somebody need to invest in you and listen to your pitch? Why would they need to even give you attention for your pitch? So how genuine are you when you're pitching, and how true are you to your brand's mission? Do you represent your brand mission, everything you're communicating as part of your pitch? The next one is action. What I mean by that is, do you have a focused drive to listen and make sure you're catering to market demands? What is your speed of action? What is your speed of performance? How do you avoid procrastination? So, one of the things I've also noticed is a startup founder will pitch. Now, this happened to me as well. Once I was mentoring a couple, they came to me for some mentoring advice. They were like, I would say, 5 years into their business. I think it was, yeah, about 5 years into their business. And they had established a fairly decent digital footprint. They were heavy on social media advertising for their personal care brand. Beautiful. I was very excited. I'm a big fan of their brand. And so they wanted to know if I can invest in their business. So I said, okay, come on, let's have a conversation about this. So we actually had a discussion. And then I was telling them, okay, they took me through their pitch deck. And I spent about 1.5 hours with them at that meeting, if I'm not mistaken, an exclusive meeting. And then in their pitch deck, after they presented the pitch deck, this is how typical. I'm taking you through a real example that I experienced, okay, me as a potential investor. And then I started questioning them on certain aspects of their pitch. I asked them about product. I asked them about supply chain. I asked them about their cash flow management. I asked them about distribution leaks, distribution gaps, distribution opportunities. Then I asked them, what is their growth plan? Have they identified growth markets? Who is their target consumer? Right? What is their manpower? Where are they doing production? How many product lines? What is their productivity? How quickly can they turn around production? What if something happens to them? What is their backup? What is their exit? So can you see the kind of stuff that I asked them? This is how an investor thinks, right? So when I had all these questions for them, they got some valuable ideas into, oh, wow, we didn't think of a lot of these angles. And then I said, okay, go back to the drawing board and look into all these areas that I've highlighted for you and come back to me with more numbers. I want to see your spreadsheets. I want to understand more intimately about the workings, the ins and the outs. So I'll let you know if I'd like to invest or not. So amazing couple. I am still a fan of theirs. I love buying their products and I would highly recommend their products. But I didn't end up investing personally because the follow up, their action, they didn't come back with the details I asked because they were so busy. They were so busy in feeding the market demand because they're actually a very good brand. But for me to invest, I needed my answers delivered, but they didn't have the time to come back to me. So that's what I meant here by action, right? Your pitch is one part of the game. If you want to secure that action, that investor, you need to make sure you follow through, follow up and follow through. Okay? Follow up, follow through on what you're supposed to. So that's very important. So I'm just going to push pause here and check in with the audience. What is a key takeaway so far that is speaking to you? What is something that really stood out for you from the 3 A's that I shared right now? Which A do you want to focus on right now that you think is an area that you need to develop on? I'd love to hear from you. What are your thoughts? Okay, yes, action, absolutely. Yeah, that's a very important one. Awesome. Yes, okay. Authenticity. Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. So keep the thoughts flowing, keep the thoughts flowing. What else? Think, ask yourself, you know? Is it attitude, authenticity, action, right? So I want you to think about that. Okay, so as we move along, I'm going to show you a few numbers on my screen. Are we ready for some numbers I'm going to share with you? All right. 85. What is 85? What do you think number 85 represents in your work? Well, we have more chats here. Let's have a look. Positive and approachable attitude. Beautiful. Yes. Wonderful. Positive and approachable attitude. That's so important. Yeah, people like people who, they're positive, they're approachable. That's lovely. Absolutely. So coming back to the numbers on the screen, number 85. What is number 85? This is the percentage of people interaction you're likely to have within your organization as a startup founder and within your ecosystem as a startup. You're going to have so many stakeholders in your worldview. Okay, you're going to depend on so many people because it's not just about you. You have to work with maybe a social media agency, you need to work with a creative person, you need to hire some freelancers, or you need to hire somebody good with AI. What is your ecosystem in your startup? You need an accountant, or maybe it's the family member who's going to handle accounts for you initially, maybe your spouse or your partner. So, but technically, 85% of your role is very people driven because you can't, unless you're Jeff Bezos and you have a lot of robots around you, right? And you're into robotics, right? I know all of you are engineers, I get that. But we work with people. We work with people. So you need to think about that. If you're an introvert, how can you still, when it comes to your workplace, your team, your startup, you need to be a people oriented person when you show up for others because it's not about you, it's about how you're serving the market, it's about how you're serving the customer, the investor, the shareholders. So you need to go into this business with the idea that, hey, I may be an introvert, that's okay, but I need to make sure that I don't allow that too much extreme of that to prevent me from collaborating for opportunities, collaborating for partnerships, collaborating for affiliations. Okay. So that's the 85%. Seven is what? 7%. What is seven? Seven is it's not 7%, 7 seconds. They say first impressions are formed within the first 7 seconds. Can you believe it? Do any of you have experience with that? It could be a positive first impression or a negative first impression. You go into a networking event and you form all of these biases, all of these opinions about, oh, that person seems friendly. This person seems like a cool person to hang out with. Yeah, right. Like that's your first impression. 7 seconds is your first impression. So what is 68? What is 68? What do you think this number is about? So this number, you're going to laugh when I share this with you. 68% of the people in this particular research they did believe that their first impression is correct. So maybe you go for some pitch and then one of the investors has a negative first impression about you for some reason. And they will believe it, even whether it's true or not. So be very careful about first impressions, right? It can have a lasting impression as well. It takes a lot of effort to reverse that. So 61, what is 61? 61% of people believe that they can instantly spot a phony or someone not genuine. Wow. Again, this is human psychology, right? This is human psychology. We are playing with these dynamics. We are pitching to people. We're pitching to human beings, right? So that's interesting, 61%. The minute they meet someone, right, they believe that they are confident enough to spot if the person is faking it, or if this person pitching to me is sincere. And these data points they're not specific to startups at all. These are very general data points, but I think it's very relatable to get an idea. 44, what is 44? What do you think 44 is? Not the sample size. So 44% of people say the first thing they notice are the eyes when they meet somebody. My goodness. So make sure you don't walk into your pitch with sunglasses, right? You want them to connect with you, right? Like even now you're connecting with me, you're looking at me through the screen, just to make sure everybody can see my camera, right? My camera is still working. Oh, is it just the slides? Okay, wonderful. Okay, so see, you can see the animation. I'm actually standing because I have a standing desk. So whenever I do virtual, I never sit because I can't bring my A game on. I can't bring my energy to you. I can't give all of me to you. I want to make sure I deliver myself to you. I want to make sure I serve you and do justice to your time and mine. So I'm actually standing. I'm very animated. You see my energy. This is who I am. Wherever you meet me, I'm a very high energy person. I think I'm a little bit more energetic than this in general. I've just been doing back-to-back sessions this whole week. So, but I wanted to still stand and do a standing presentation for you today, a standing session on the Pitch Masterclass. So those little details are important. So with that said, I want you to take down your key takeaways that you've learned for the past several minutes with me. I'm going to pause here and give you a moment to take down some reflections. Write it down, take it on your notepads. How is this speaking to you? What are some key takeaways for you? Right? Start jotting it down in your notepad. And then I'm going to open it up to the next segment of today's session. And that's going to be more interactive because I'm going to open up my Canva whiteboard and we're going to be doing some whiteboarding together. So for that, ladies and gentlemen, I need you to unmute or I need you to use the chat box more, okay, for the next exercise. So once all of you have written down a little reflection, just give me a thumbs up and then I'll proceed to the next section. When you're ready to move on to the next section, let me know. Okay, thank you. All right, yes, I see you. Okay, all right, wonderful. All right, wonderful. All right, great. So let's move on. Stay. Okay. So now we are going to move into me as a communicator because your pitch deck, you need to communicate your pitch deck, right? So we're going to quickly do this and then we're going to move into the actual pitch formula. I'm going to give you that framework and then after that, I'm going to put you into breakout rooms and then each of you are going to use PowerPoint and come up with your pitch presentation and then you're going to come back and present. Jasmine, just a quick one. You can just reply on the chat box with me. Have the teams already been assigned? Have they already worked on a pitch or are they going to develop that from scratch? Would you be okay if I actually get them to develop by scratch? But are they already put into teams or can I form the teams today at the breakout rooms? You could just reply on the chat. Okay. So while I'm waiting for, yes, okay, some of them have the ideas on the breakout rooms. Okay, okay, fantastic. So I will be putting you into teams and I'll be grouping you, okay? All right, so me as a communicator, let's get into this. So here, I'm going to open up my Canva. Um, yeah. Can everybody see this? Can everyone see my Canva? Okay. So at this point, you need to give me feedback, okay? So these are the parameters or the checkpoints or the milestones when you think about me as a communicator when I'm pitching, okay? So the first thing is I want you to make sure your content is really good. And what goes into content? What are the elements in content, your actual pitch deck? What does content look like when it comes to your pitch deck, right? So I want you to now give me the elements that need to go into content. Then after that, I want you to give me the elements that go into clarity. What is clarity all about? Clarity means being clear. So being clear, why is that important? I want you to give me tips on how you think we can be clear and then concise, confidence, and credibility. So we will first start with content, the content itself that goes into your pitch deck. So what kind of content are you going to put there? Tell me. What are some fundamental guidelines you're going to think about when it comes to the content that you put into your pitch deck? Remember, you're pitching to people who you are asking money, people you are asking time, people you're asking their mentorship. You're asking them something, right? So I want you to think about that. So what are you going to be thinking about when it comes to content in your pitch deck? So feel free to unmute and say it out, or you can type it on the chat box and then I'll type it for you on the whiteboard. Okay, so we have a structure here. Thank you for sharing. Okay, so we're going to be putting problem, solution, market, ROI, and the ask. Okay, all right. What else? When it comes to content, what else are you going to be looking at? What are some other things you can add to boost your pitch? What else? What are the other elements you can add into content that can really boost your pitch, make you stand out? Yeah.
Reliability.
Very good. Yes, reliability.
And also integrity and called conformity.
Conformity, as in like to standards and stuff. Conformity.
Yes.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, okay, that's great. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, conformity. So another thing that we can try, okay, I have more feedback here about the founders. You can put information about the founders. Let me type that here. So team, just feel free to note down what we're doing here, okay? So about who the founders are, you can add your profiles, about your team composition, your marketing strategy, okay? So reliability, integrity, conformity. Then what about storytelling? Did you think about that? Why not? You can also share a story about a lot of, if you watch Shark Tank, how many of you watch Shark Tank? So in Shark Tank, I love Shark Tank. I watch Shark Tank. So in that, they always ask, tell me about you. Tell me about you. What's your story? Why this product? Why now? Right? Isn't that interesting? They always want to know about you. So you can feel free to put a little story about you, about something happened to you, maybe when you were a child, you were bullied, something. And then that inspired you to come up with this solution for others, something like that, right? Okay, then we have another response here, and that's about who we are, the founders, and the brand story. Very nice. Yes, I put that in here. The brand story, the why. Why this problem? How are you going to justify the why? Why and why now? Then what we do, what is that solution? And then the ask. Yes, very good. So that's when it comes to content. What about clarity? Why is it important to be clear? What are your guidelines to make your presentation clear? How will you make it clear? Clarity means clear. How are you going to make sure your pitch is now, these are very important in your pitch decks. Okay, that's why I'm taking time on this, because whatever you're pitching, it's not only your presentation, your actual pitch deck needs to have these areas. You have to remember it has to have good content, it has to be clear, it has to be concise, not too long, it has to have your confidence in there and your credibility. So clarity.
I have a doubt. Excuse me, I want to disturb you. In this content, shall we say national benefit or the national benefit?
Wow, very good. Yes, the national benefit, the impact, how it's going to make such a
Yes, yes.
national level benefit. Very good. So
Thank you.
within brackets, thank you so much. I'll also mention impact. Very good. So national benefit. Yes, I have added that. Very cool. Thank you for sharing. Yes. All right. So I think we have some really great answers from you for content. That's very good. Very strong. So now tell me one more thing on content. Yeah, content I think we're pretty covered. Clarity. How do we keep our pitch decks very clear? What are some guidelines? What are some things we can do? How do we make it clear? Numbers. I love the exclamation mark. I love it. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to paste that answer here. We need numbers. Absolutely. Okay. Sorry. Numbers. Control P. Yeah. So that's an answer. What will you do? What else? Numbers. What else? Numbers, justification, evidence.
The clarity, shall we say, the basic information or the explanation, how you are the application?
Explanations of applications, yes. Explanation of applications, yeah. Because sometimes the investor might not know the technical stuff about the product. So yeah, you need to have some explanations. What else? How can we be more clear? One tip is to avoid jargon, like avoid too many big technical terms. Application explanation is one, but avoiding jargons, yeah, simplify to understand. Okay, that's a good one. I'm going to take that as well. Simplify to understand, yes. So explanation of application, simplify to understand. What else?
Point, is it the you have to give the things in point form or the point form, the details in point form
Yeah,
or
very
the
good.
bullet
So,
form.
Very good. Yeah, it's easier. When it's in bullets, it's easier to see, right? Or like one slide, one key point. Like not everything in one slide to make it clutter. Yeah, absolutely. Anything else you can think of? I think this is good. The structure. I'm just going to add here structure. Structure, right? Have a nice start to finish flow. There's a nice flow. There should be a nice flow. Okay, awesome. All right, thank you, friends. I think we have really good content when it comes to clarity. Are we okay to move on to the next one? Is everyone okay? Concise? Okay. Concise means keeping it short and simple, not too detailed, right? Concise means because you're pitching, your investors are very busy. The people you're pitching to are very busy, right? So you need to keep it succinct. Concise means to the point. So maybe that's one key thing I will add here. To the point. Okay, what else do you think we can do to keep it concise, like to the point, not too long, not too much of explanation? What are some guidelines? One thing is, yeah, you have said use graphical elements like flowcharts. Wow, I love that. Yes, using graphical elements as flowcharts because that helps. That will make things very, yeah, you're capturing all the data sheets into a nice image, like a graphical element. Very nice. And then on the clarity section, is the use of the funds can we include? Yeah, that's a very, very good point, actually. Let me take that under clarity. It's a very good point. Use of the funds. Investors will want to know how you're going to use their money, right? How you're going to use that. Yeah. Right. Use of the funds. Yeah. Thank you for that. I have added that. Okay. Awesome. All right. So using then back to concise, to the point, using graphical elements, practice with pitch style. Practice with pitch style. Here, I'll add that here as well. So you have to practice it, right, to keep it concise. And one of the things here is to organize your thoughts and ideas before you communicate. So, like you have put your practice, practice, practice. Then you can make your thoughts, because we think in a lot of ways. We think in a like clutter. Our brain has so many things going on in that moment. So before you walk into the pitch, you need to think, okay, I'm going to meditate. I'm going to be very clear, very structured. I'm going to be clear in my thoughts, and then I'm going to communicate. So that's the way you can keep things to the point, is to first tell yourself. Another thing you can do is, right, bottom line. What's my bottom line? What's my top line? What are the main key points, right? That's how you can keep it concise. What's the bottom line? What's my main key points? What's my main thing here I want you to remember? My main message. So you have to make sure before you leave the investor, this main thing is going to be put out there as the main thing. They should remember that. Anything else, friends, for concise? Or can we move on to confidence? What do you think? Anything else? Focus and mindful. Yeah, absolutely. Let me add that as well. I love the exclamation marks, actually. I'm loving it. You're absolutely right. You need to have focus. That's going to be such an important one. So you can't start thinking about someone else in the back of your mind. When you're going to meet a new investor, when you're talking to the new investor, in the back of your mind, if you're going to be insecure about the rejection you received from the other in previous pitch round, it's going to fail. You have to be very focused, very present in the moment, in the now. Another one focus is about, okay, what are you actually talking about? Don't go all over the place. So have a nice flow, be very focused. That way you can keep it very short and simple as well. Absolutely. Okay. So are we ready to move on to confidence? Can we move on to that? Is that okay? All right. So how can we show the investor our confidence? How can we do that? What do we want to look at when we are thinking about our pitch and the confidence in the pitch? How do we really increase investor confidence in us when we pitch? What do we have to think about? What are your thoughts? What do you think? Confidence.
Yes, our personality to continue the business or this job.
Wow, that's a very good one. Yes, our personality. Our personality to continue the business without stopping. They want to know, in other words, it's called resilience. Resilience. Like even though there's a problem, you don't just give up if there's still growth potential. Sometimes as an entrepreneur, there is something like this. If you've tried everything and maybe the timing is just so wrong, and there has to be a point where you have to face your reality and tell yourself, no, I made a mistake. This is not viable anymore. And there are times you'll have to give up, or you will have to sell it. You'll have to do an early exit. So there are so many different things that can happen. In those moments, you have to obviously stop. But in this moment, when it's about pitching and you're about to try to earn an investor, then in that sense, you have to show them your personality is very strong. They need to feel that from you. Yes. And another thing is about being clear about your own business. Yeah, that's a very good.
Yeah,
I'm going to add that.
the personality and mindset. Shall we add personality and our mindset?
Very good. Absolutely. Absolutely. Personality and the mindset. That's very important. They want to know your mindset as well. What kind of a person? PR skills and readiness. Okay. Wonderful. I'm going to add that too here. PR skills and your readiness to take it on and walk that extra mile. And then I have another one here. Clear market understanding supported by reliable data, especially about customers and competitors. Yes, the investor will get a lot of confidence from you if you are proving to them that you know your business, you know your competition, you know the weaknesses in the market, you know the opportunities in the market. You need to give them that impression that you have a clear market understanding and reliable data. That's very important. Very good. Yes. What else? You have said here FAQ readiness and feedback. Yes, that's a very important one. So after you have done pitching, they're obviously going to have questions for you. And the last thing you need to do is to act like you're upset that they're asking more questions and acting annoyed or defensive. We can't be defensive. We have to be humble. We have to be like, we're ready to learn from the investor. We are open mind. You have to have an open mind. So how you handle the FAQ round is going to be very critical to whether the investor wants to invest you or not. They want to know like your mindset, you're very clear, you have the data, you're ready, you're accepting feedback. So that's very important. Okay. So I think we have a very good idea about how we can make sure our pitch deck is giving the right stuff, and also that we, as the owner of the pitch deck, are going in there with these elements to really get that investors sign off who we are, our pitch, okay? The confidence, right? So finally, we move into credibility. This is very important. Credibility is about reputation. Credibility is all about the trust, the acceptance. How are you going to earn that trust in you? How are you going? They have to trust you before they trust you with their money. We are like that too, right? Before we give a loan or before we, do anything with someone, we have to trust that person, build relationships. So what can we do, friends, to really go into an investor round and think about how we can give that positive impression about our reputation, our image, our credibility as an entrepreneur, as a founder? What are some areas you think to increase our credibility at a pitch round?
Are we ready to change to create a change? Are we ready to change to create a change?
Very good. Are we ready to change, to create the change? I love that. That's such a wonderful mindset to have. Yeah, that will also give a lot of credibility as well, because then that will build the trust. The investor will feel, oh, this person is humble, this person is ready. That's a very good point. Yeah. What else? What else can you think of, friends, when it comes to credibility? What else? You have actually covered it in a few other areas when it comes to credibility. Anything else you can think of? Tell me. What else? Credibility or reputation, develop your personal branding and team identity. Yes, that's very important. So sometimes what has happened is when I'm either the investor or I'm a lot of the times the mentor, the judge, I'm coaching these startup founders. One of the things I've seen is they come for the presentation, maybe 2 or 3 people, usually say 2 people. One person is really knowledgeable about the pitch deck, really knowledgeable about the numbers, about the ins and the outs of the business. The other person, who is the accountant, is very shy, very quiet, is looking very introverted, and is not a good representation for the brand. So it's not enough for you if you're taking someone else with you and you're going for this pitch. It's not enough for only you to know all the stuff. You have to make sure your team members also know everything. At least they need to be able to know enough so that in the FAQ round, they can also pitch, because they are looking for team as well, not only you. They're looking for your team who's going to back you up, right? So clear financial logic, absolutely. That's a very good point. Clear financial logic. My goodness, this is a very important point. If you are not clear, if you can't back it up, immediately the investor will say, no, forget it. No way. This is too risky. The founder doesn't know what they're talking about, right? So that's very important. Then another one, cash flow and ROI projections must be verified and have credible sources. Yes, that's a good one. Thank you for putting that on the chat. Absolutely. This is so important because they're going to look at that. They're going to look at validated, right? Credible, recent traction. Yes, if you have any trials already, if you have customers who have already tried your product, if you have even one review on Facebook, pull it out, show it, talk about it, your proof of concept. If you have any proof of concept data, show it. That's very important. Yes, then your attitude of the founder, the live demo, and a testimonial. Absolutely. These things are going to really help. Yeah, these things are going to really help you at the pitch round. Your attitude of who you are and your live demo. If you have a demo, please get ready with the demo. You can connect it to a YouTube link or something and have that automated reel playing. Do a demonstration, or you can go and do a live demo and also testimonial. You can have a testimonial recording, a video. You can show data points, dashboards, whatever, and make sure those are all verified, validated. Entry and exit strategy for investors. Oh, I love that. Absolutely. They would love to see the exit as well, right? What is the entry? So a lot of the times investors will try to find out from you, is it only the money that you want? Or do you also want them to do some visits? Do you want their mentoring? Do you want their advice? Or do you want only money? Sometimes investors, a little bit more mature founders who are like stage 2, because you have different levels of entrepreneurship: stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. Stage 2 is when you're about 5 years into the business, you're a little bit more established, you're generating some steady cash flow, then you're no longer in that desperate zone, right? Stage 1 is still risky, you're still growing. Stage 2 is now you're scaling a little bit more. So yeah, so entry and exit is very important. So now we have basically done the, yeah, I can see, you can see the screen on here in the chat. Very good. Thank you for sharing that screenshot.
Shall I add another one for the credibility?
Yes,
This
yes, please.
frequent updating the data to show the clear our business.
Very good. Absolutely. That's a very good one. Updating your pitch deck data. Frequently updating your data before meeting the investor. Yes. Yes. Because the market can be so, especially the economy we're living in, it can fluctuate so rapidly, right? So we need to make sure our data is updated. Another one here is be honest. If in case we don't know something, make sure we learn about it. That's a very good point. Yes. Investors they'll like this about you. If they ask you a question, and if you don't have the data and you don't have the knowledge to answer that right then, don't try to pretend and fake it. Don't try to guess. That's the worst thing you can do. Always just say, to be honest, thank you for pointing that out. Don't say to be honest, just say, thank you for pointing that out. That's an area I'm going to look into. Can I come back to you? Can I come back to you? Right? And make sure you get back. Okay? Don't assume. So be honest. If you don't know, say, I don't know that right now, but I'm going to find out and I'm going to come back to you. Then love that. Okay? Number one, they would love if you have actually anticipated it and you come up with a ready answer for that you've already anticipated that. But in case it's a brand new thing you didn't know and you couldn't anticipate, don't worry. Just say, if I'm honest, I didn't think of that. So thank you. I will come back to you. I'll look into that and come back to you. Very good. Awesome. And finally, let's take this point as well. Make sure to have references, sources, links for further evidence. Yes. Oh, that's wonderful. I'm going to add that here. My goodness, isn't this fantastic? Look at this. Everyone, please feel free to take a screenshot. I think Jasmine has already done a screen grab for you on the chat box. So maybe you can take another grab of this so that you have it with you. Let me close that so you have the screen grab. Wonderful. Fantastic. Oh, that's perfect. Thank you so much, Yasmin. So she's done a screen grab for you. So make sure you save that with you. So now that everybody is up to speed on the key components for the masterclass to get into your pitch deck, to get into yourself, now we're going to go into the pitch deck itself. Okay, I'm going to take you to that. Let me open that up. And then we'll move on to the pitch round very quickly. Let me share my screen again for you. Here we go. All right. Okay. So coming back, right? So what is an elevator pitch? This is typically in your mind. The traditional way of looking at this is, say you go somewhere and you meet an investor at a networking event, right? You see a very top investor in this networking event, somebody who's a humble investor who loves investing in young talent, in young ideas, in new entrepreneurs, right? You meet someone like that. And then you meet them at this networking event and you're like, okay, now what do I do? How do I quickly introduce myself? In 30 to 60 seconds, not 5 minutes, right? 30 to 60 seconds, 60 seconds max. Who are you? What do you do? What are you about? What is your value proposition? You have to be ready with that. So that's typically what an elevator pitch is. And the idea is, okay, from an elevator, typically from the ground floor to the top, you go from the first floor to the rooftop. In that distance, how quickly can you pitch yourself? So that's just how this whole elevator pitch idea has come about. So here, there's an entrepreneur testimonial I want to put out here. I don't know how many of you know Richard Branson. Have you heard of Richard Branson? I'm sure all of you have heard of Richard Branson. So Richard Branson's net worth is approximately 3 billion. And he said this really interesting quote. He said, sell the problem you solve, not the product you have. So please take a screenshot of this because I thought this is brilliant. It's a very important reminder, especially to startup founders who are looking to pitch. Please feel free to take a screenshot of this. So Richard Branson just exited one of his groups, one of his companies for 3.8 billion. He sold it. So, I mean, he has so many different sectors. He's involved with Virgin Airlines. He's involved with travel and leisure, space exploration. I mean, so many different sectors he's looking at. So he runs a very successful empire. And this was something very cool that he said. All right. So here, selling the problem you solve, not the product. Okay, so I want you to ask yourself, question yourself, right? Validate yourself. What is the problem I'm selling? Actually, what is the problem I'm solving and how do I sell that? Not the product. What is the problem that I'm solving and how do I sell that? Right? So I want you to pause and ask yourself this question. And when I put you into the breakout rooms in about 5 minutes, I want you to ask each other this question as well. Okay. So a little bit about I have two companies. One company is in London, and I'm doing a lot of branching out in Europe. So this is my UK business called Collective Leadership Global. We are a boutique consulting company. We specialize in post-COVID companies that do over 250,000 pounds per annum. So we are on the more medium to high end of the SME sort of sphere. And so I would say something like, our tailor-made coaching, consulting services, grows businesses going global. Very specific pain point is about companies looking to go global or they have regional teams through M&A. They're looking at M&As. M&A stands for mergers, acquisition, regional expansion. So a lot of structural changes happen there. So a lot of the people development, team development, fractures can happen inside the team, can get fractured. When you're trying to go global, when you're trying to reach out, when you're trying to do international work. So that is where we come in to build culturally competent, diverse, resilient teams, right? And collaboration. So that's that. Then this is my other company called Women Empowered Global. Here we're on a mission to empower 1 million women for leadership globally. So this is very established, actually. We are present in over 6 continents worldwide, not 6 countries, 6 continents worldwide. We're very global. We help women to lead boldly through leadership development coaching, driving inclusion, leadership, and measurable impact worldwide. So that's that. So you can see when I talk about this with people, depending on who I'm speaking to, a lot of my work is I don't deal with a lot of investors who invest money, but I do because we have our own self-sustainability business model. So we don't really need investments. So what we have is through our own, commercially available the kind of services we offer to the market, we're very self-sustainable. We do amazing work. We have brilliant testimonials. We have very high engagement around the world. So for me, it's about pitching for collaborators, pitching for experts. That's what I pitch for. I don't pitch for money. I pitch for expertise. I pitch for collaborations. I pitch for ecosystems. How can I launch a women's incubator in Finland, in Europe? How can I launch a women's entrepreneurship boot camp in Australia? So I'm pitching at that level. So it's very different. But for every pitch, you need to have a pitch plan. So with that, I'm so excited to get into the core of our product, of our pitch masterclass today, and that is the actual pitch structure. So let's get ready for that. All right, so here let's just push pause and take a big deep breath, because we've already covered 5 key fundamentals when it comes to organizing yourself and your pitch, and that's the entire communication piece, me as a communicator. And now I'm moving into the pitch formula, okay? So I'm going to give this to you. So number 1, the first one is to do with the hook. What is the hook? The hook is how you're going to grab attention with a powerful statement or question. It's something like, did you know that 70% of businesses struggle to scale due to ineffective leadership? So that's something that I would bring up. Or I talk in my nature of work. I would talk about employee engagement. I talk about, the trends that's happening globally, silent quitting, the cost of turnover, things like that. So you need to figure out your hook. How are you going to grab? What is that key statement that you're going to put out there? That wow moment to really get that hook into the mind of that investor, right? That's important. So I want you to start with that. Then the second one is the actual problem. State the pain point your target market is facing. So I would say something like companies lack the leadership development needed to expand globally, right? That's the actual problem. So you can think about, the investigated problem, and of course you can present it in a very elaborate way. The next one is market validation. Here, a little thing is I've noticed a lot of startup founders just present data that's already available, out there. The thing is, if you try to use public data that is in some very common website, chances are someone else is also using the same source. So what I would recommend is, especially if you're going to an investor, they are leaders, right? They are already running successful businesses. We want to see very fresh ways of looking at data. We want you to come with ideas and validate them in very creative angles, in fresh insights that you yourself have maybe done focus groups, maybe you yourself has gone out there to the marketplace and investigated it. You yourself has done critical analysis, spoken to customers, and you're validating it. I think that's a very fresh perspective to take on market validation. Don't just go and look at, these websites and things like that. And make sure it's context based as well, because if you're selling a product, the product you're selling in UK market is going to have a different context to how you're selling this product. The market context is going to be different in Sri Lanka, right? If you're selling flip-flops in Sri Lanka, the need for flip-flops in Sri Lanka is not seasonal, it's 24/7. But if you pitch the same product to a market like UK, it's seasonal. They're not going to buy flip-flops in winter. They're going to buy it only during summer. So you have to also be strategic about validation, to think about how you're pitching it in a very context-friendly way, okay? Then they'll know you're a leader. So another one is on the solution itself. So here, explain how your product or service solves that problem. And the example, you can say, our platform provides coaching and global branding strategies to help businesses scale. Like, what is that? What is it that you actually do? So the actual solution. Then the next bucket to think about is the value proposition. This is a huge one. Value proposition is not this. Okay, let me ask you like this. What is value proposition? Is it talking about benefits? Let me see the chat box. What is value proposition? Is it about benefits? What is value proposition? Oh, these are the benefits you're going to get. Is that what we mean when we say value proposition? The real value of this? It's not just about benefits, isn't it? It's about the measurable, the proof of concept. What real value is it going to give your end user? Is it convenience? It's not price, it's convenience. It's brand appeal. What is that? You need to dig in more to understand your customer avatar. That's important. If you know your customer avatar, then you can really derive your value proposition. Who is my ideal customer profile? Who is that? Right? Who is my ideal customer profile? Right? Obviously, you're going to look at your total addressable market, but that's not what you're pitching here today because investors don't think like that. Investors want to know in your year one projections how much of acquisition is going to be solid, or are you just going on heavy big numbers to impress the investor? So you need to think about not just total addressable market, because a lot of pitches I've seen are talking about this TAM, TAM, TAM. Okay, fine. But as an investor, I would like to see how precise is your niche? Do you know that niche? Who is in there? And what is your specific context value proposition? I need to see that. So think of it like that. What is the real value proposition that you're bringing? And finally,
Excuse me, in the value proposition, shall we say win-win situation for both parties? We have to highlight win-win situation for both customer and our founder, and the win-win situation for the both parties.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at value proposition. So there are different layers in value proposition. One value proposition is you need to prove to the investor what's the win-win situation going to look like. They'll ask you, are you going to take a salary in the first year? Or are you going to have sweat equity? Right? Are you not going to pay yourself and you're still going to make sure everything is running? Or are you going to take a salary? What is your value proposition back to me as an investor? Then they will also look at how have you identified your value propositions in your go-to-market? Go-to-market value propositions. How are you going to talk about what you do to your end user? What is the value propositions in your go-to-market? That's important. Okay, so there are two types of value propositions. One to the investor and the other is in your go-to-market strategy. Because you have to talk about value propositions in your go-to-market, right? All of you are familiar with go-to-market, right? How are you going to now take your product, your brand and go-to-market? How are you going to sell? What's your sales pipeline? How are you going to build that? How are you going to go to market? What's your strategy, right? So your value propositions when it comes to that, and then your call to action is important. So, okay, after you pitch, what next? Do you want a follow-up meeting with them? Maybe they want to meet you again for a second round of discussions. You have to close in that next, what's next? Okay, that's what call to action means. Be very clear on how much you're asking, why you're asking that, how you're going to allocate that, how you're going to distribute that, and what more expectations you have from the investor, okay? Like advisory services, things like that. And also proof of concept, I put it here before call to action. A lot of the times people talk about proof of concept with the solution. Proof of concept is if you've actually done market trials, things like that, and you've achieved sales, you can say, this product, actually, I'm so excited to tell you that we've actually sold and we have turned over 1 million rupees in our first year, something like that. Proof of concept. The investor will be like, oh, that's interesting. So you already have proof of concept. So that's something you can plug in there as well. So what I would like to share with you is basically, I'm going to share my screen. Let me just share this so that you can take a quick screen grab from this one. Can everyone see my screen? So feel free to take a screen grab from this. Okay. So these are the steps. I put the extra step as well. And then this is the component, the step, and this is the objective. Okay. So once you're done with a screenshot, just let me know, and then I'll stop sharing the screen. Okay, done? Everyone done? Let me see, thumbs up. You've taken a photo? Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Jasmine. Just taken a screen grab. That's great. All right, now, friends, I'm going to give you something very strategic very quickly. This is something you probably haven't heard of in other traditional pitch classes, but I want to share this with you. It's very important. And that's on the matrix. A lot of the times, right, to build your credibility, you need to use data, because they say startups with business plans that are data-driven strategies have a 30% higher success rate. Yeah, startups, not entrepreneurship. Startups specifically, which uses data-driven strategies and talks presence, they really use data-driven business planning. They are 30% more successful than average. So that's a very important one. So for credibility, you need to talk about the matrix you're using to justify your evidence. So you need to, credibility in a pitch is built by backing your statements with evidence and facts rather than just feelings. Use matrix to turn your pitch from a feeling into a fact. So I'd like to invite you to take a screenshot of this or a screen grab, and feel free to even post this out even on your socials, but tag me if you're posting it out. And you can do a little summary about your key takeaways from today as well. And you can take this slide with you, because this is a very powerful piece of thought leadership that is so important for you to even tell your friends. This part is important. So I'm going to teach you a little bit on some of the matrix examples, what you can say, okay? Okay, so some of the examples you can use, I'm going to just talk about some ideas I have here to build into your value proposition and your traction sections, okay? Your value proposition and traction sections. Okay, number one, is everyone ready to make note of the different matrix that I'm going to share with you? Let me see. I want to make sure I share this screen. One moment. Hold on, team. Confirm to me that you can see this screen. Okay. Can everyone see this screen? So feel free to take a photo of this or a screen grab, and you can post this thought leadership slide on your socials, and you can tag me, and you can talk about something on your vision for entrepreneurship, something like that, because this is a very powerful thought leadership frame. Okay, credibility is about substantiating all your statements of with evidence and facts. So number one, I'm going to teach you a few matrix points here to add to value proposition and traction. Number one. Is everyone ready to make note of the points? I'm going to quickly give you some. Thumbs up. Team? All right, you ready? You can see my screen, right? Okay, I'm going to check with you. Okay, I'm going to just check here. Okay. All right, wonderful. For a moment there, I thought I lost you. I thought you couldn't hear me. Okay, wonderful. All right. So get ready, right? So add these sections, these matrix sections to your traction slides and your value proposition. Number one, it could be on the basis of efficiency and time-saving matrix. So that's the hours your product can save. Quantify how much manual work is eliminated. This is going to save small businesses hours of manual work every week. So that could be one matrix. Another one could be process speed. How much faster a task is completed compared to traditional methods. Or our app can track expenses in real time. So you have to put out a matrix like that. That's very, very powerful. Okay, you need to put out a matrix like that. All right, matrix number two. You can talk about growth and success rate matrix. So the growth and success rate matrix is, you can talk about success improvement. You can say something like, you can highlight how your strategy increases the odds of success, right? It could be something like data-driven strategies lead to a 30% higher success rate. See, that was how I pitched this to you, the importance of a matrix, right? So you need to mention something like that. Or you can talk about market growth metrics. You can say, use broader market trends to validate the scale of the opportunity. You can say startup market worth has surged by 239% over the last decade. So you're talking about market growth potential. So that could be a matrix you're using. Then very quickly, just one more, you can also talk about impact and scale metrics. Impact and scale, you can talk about customer reach. Customer reach is about the volume of people or the organization served. So you can say, our product or our company has supported thousands of leaders worldwide in these regions, da, 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 da. So you can talk about customer reach. Or you can talk about the goal targets. You can say, you can talk about the ambitious long-term impact goals, right? Example, on a mission to empower 1 million women for leadership. That's talking about my scale, because entrepreneurs want to know how scalable your product is, right? Because they're thinking about exit, right? Because in their mind, where you are right now, if your valuation is 1 million rupees today, in their mind, your valuation is not going to be 1 million rupees in 5 years from now, right? So they're very interested to know what that exit is going to look like, how your valuation potential is going to scale. So that's where you need to talk about these metrics that I've covered with you just now, okay? So just a quick recap for you. The first matrix is on efficiency and time saving. You can choose to use that as a measurable result. What I mean by matrix is measurable outcomes, okay? Or you can talk about growth and success rate. So for efficiency and time savings, it's going to be about hours saved or the processing speed. Then when it comes to growth and success rates, you're going to be talking about success improvement and market growth. You can highlight about that improvement, the measurable improvement they can get by adopting your product. Then finally, you can also talk about impact and scale, scalability. That's very important, right? That's on customer reach and goal targets. Yeah, and then one more thing I personally do, I talk a lot about partnerships. That builds a lot of credibility for my business and my global brand, because I have a very global brand. So I talk about high-level collaborations as a qualitative metrics of trust. I use qualitative metrics as well, not only quantitative. I also talk about, I partner with top corporates, Fortune 500 companies, international companies. I go on that basis. That's very nice. And finally, one more matrix is the financial and investment matrix. This is very important. And this is the funding total. So you can use industry-specific funding benchmarks to show sector value. I see this happening a lot. It's called the financial and investment matrix. This is a common one, the funding total. So you can say something like, example, 25 billion rupees in funding are happening right now for AI startups. And this represents 18% of the global funding. So that is why, ladies and gentlemen, I'm so excited to talk to you about the AI startup that I'm proposing today, because okay. Or you can go on the segment investment. You can say, you can highlight specific demographic successes. Now, in my case, I can, because I have my company, I have two companies, like I said. One of them specializes in women entrepreneurship, women leadership. So there I can say, as a segment investment, I can say women co-founded companies attract 29.6 billion in venture capital. I can use statements like that, right? And then one more would be innovation and culture matrix. And that's about your team readiness, your team performance. You can say use assessment data to show cultural or leadership improvements. Example, using individual and team profiles to get innovation, culture, and collaboration. So I'm also certified background in innovation. I'm an innovation partner to companies. I go into organizations and I am a certified innovation coach, where I do innovation capability studies and assessments in organizations for team leaders and teams, right? So these profiles that I do are assessments. So it's going to support innovation culture and change management and more collaboration. So that is something I can pitch when it comes to innovation and culture. So what is it for you? So these are just some metrics that I'm leaving with you, and I'm sure this is going to help you in a very big way. Okay, yes, innovation and culture metrics. Thank you so much, Jazz, for making a record of that on the chat. So with that, I'm so excited to now open it up to our actual breakout room. So, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put you into a breakout room to just have a chat for about maybe 5 minutes. Just about this idea. Actually, we can have a chat for about 10 minutes. I'm going to put you into a breakout room for 10 good minutes. And the two key things I want you to think about is the communication thing we've spoken about, right? Today, more importantly, I really want you to also equally important, I wouldn't say more, it's equally important, it's not more important, is your actual pitch deck as well. For your pitch deck, I'd like you to look at the formula I've given you, the framework, plus the matrix that are on the chat box. So with that, I just want to gauge from you just an energy gauge. How are we at the moment? How are we doing? Give me a type of word in terms of how you're feeling right now. Where's your energy? Are you excited? Did you learn a lot already? Is your mind open? What are you thinking? Type a word. I want to on the chat. I want to know your energy. Okay, yes. Okay, I love that. Okay. And the others, how are you feeling? Have you learned a lot? You're thinking, you've taken down thoughts. How about the others? Where's your energy? What's the pulse? Let me see. How about the others? Give me your feedback. Want to know your thoughts, okay? All right, okay, awesome. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put you, okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. I'm going to put you into a grouping now. Wonderful, love to hear your feedback. So the breakout rooms, I will create, how many do we have? We have only, yeah, I can create 3 breakout rooms. Yeah, I will create 3 breakout rooms, okay? I'm going to put it to 3. Let's see. I think we're going to be able to, I'm going to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, perfect. All right, so I just opened up the rooms and I'm excited for you to work in teams and come back to the main room. And I'm just going to open it up to Q&A after that point. All right, I'll see you soon.